Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. So as you can see, we are in the truck right now, and I got another modification for the truck. I got a new exhaust. I've been looking at getting something a little bit louder than what I'm currently running, because I really don't want to take away from the daily drivability from this truck, simply because I drive it every day, I have my kids in it and everything. And the STI is just simply the loud car that I can go nuts on. So I picked up an exhaust that's in between loud and quiet. We are going to be installing that today in this video. I'm really looking forward to it, finally getting a nice exhaust on the truck, and we can get the old, crappy, rusty, gross looking, quiet, stock catback off the truck. So let's head back to the garage and let's get started on installing the exhaust. So we're going to be working on the truck in this video. We're actually going to be installing a new exhaust. The largest exhaust I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm so used to smaller exhaust on all my sports cars and everything that I've owned over the years, so this is pretty massive. Now, I currently have an exhaust on the car. It's not really a full exhaust. It is the Corsa Resonator Delete, and then I'm running a 3.5-inch MBRP black exhaust tip on there. So it wasn't really anything crazy, but you know, it amplified the sound a little bit. It gave a little bit more turbo noise and everything, because basically there's a giant resonator in the middle of the catback, the stock catback, that really quiets things down. So I got the Corsa Resonator Delete. It's nice for what it is. It's pretty inexpensive if you want to do something really simple, but I'm just looking for a little bit more sound. Now, there's some really loud options out there. I was going to go with the Borla Attack, but I think that would have been a little too loud since this is my daily driver, and I really don't want to make it too obnoxious, because we all know the STI is insanely loud, and I drive this every single day with my family, my kids and everything, so I want to make sure I'm not going too loud. So I ended up going with the MBRP 4-inch XP catback. So there's 3 different versions of this. There's the MBRP one, just the baseline, then the XP, and then there's the Pro. So basically the difference between the 3 is the materials used. I really didn't find it was necessary to go all the way up to the Pro, so we'll see how this holds up over the years, but I think this will be just fine, and I think it's a really nice option. So this is kind of a mix between loud and quiet, so it's definitely going to be louder than what's on there currently, but it's not going to be as loud as the Borla Attack. Now, as for tip options, it comes with a 5-inch polish tip right here, which is massive, but I didn't want to run anything chrome or polished since the entire truck is completely blacked out. So I picked up the same exhaust tip, but in black. So it's the same one that I am running on the car or the truck right now, but just this much smaller version, obviously. And also, before we get started, I thought I would mention it. Quick little garage mod. I installed a fan up on the top of my work area. It's really nice. It's on low right now, just to kind of get the air moving in here since I'm out here a lot in the warmer months. So I figured putting a fan in here would just get some air moving, get some circulation, and it actually cools it off pretty well. I really would like to get a mini split in here eventually. I think this was like $100 or so. Just getting a quick fan in here just to kind of get the air moving is really going to help in the summer months. Now, this is just hanging down. I put this up. This controls the speed and the swing. I just put it up on the top of the cabinet when I'm not using it, so it's just hanging there right now. But I'm happy with the new addition, so we can stay cool in the garage while we're working on the truck and the STI. So let's go ahead, let's get the stock catback off of the truck and get to installing this. All right, guys, so we got the stock exhaust off. Not too bad. Obviously, it's super duper rusted and just gross, but everything came off smoothly. This is the resonator delete from Corsa, so that was easy to take off since I just put that on, I don't know, a few months ago. I ended up taking off the exhaust tip because I don't want to dent it up or scratch it up or anything as I was removing it. So we'll do a little comparison side by side, just so you can see how much bigger the new exhaust is. So this is the 3.5 inch, which is the stock sizing, and that is the new one. This is a 5 inch, so 1.5 inch bigger. Obviously it looks a little bit bigger than that, but way better. So now, oh yeah, I noticed it's chipping a little bit. Wonder if it's gonna do the same thing on this one. Probably, but we got to back up if we ever need it. So pretty straightforward. Now this install is literally just putting everything back. It's gonna be much simpler since everything is much smaller. It also does include an extension pipes. I have the shorter bed, the standard size, so I'm not gonna need that. But if you have the 8-foot bed or anything else, you can use this extension pipe. So the only piece I'm not gonna be using out of all of this is this piece right here. That is, like I mentioned, only if you have the extended bed. So I actually have one exhaust hanger on the stock catback that I need to remove. Once I take that off, I can throw it on the exhaust hangers here. There's a lot of adjustments. There's so much room under there. I'm so used to like the STI that has barely any room to kind of maneuver things around, but there's so much adjustment. And also it has my preferred slip joints, so you're not gonna have to worry about exhaust leaks or anything like that. Comes with the exhaust clamps. So very simple, straightforward install. So let's go ahead and let's get cracking on installing the new exhaust. Oh, and also, as I was removing the exhaust hangers, my exhaust hanger bushing wrench broke, which is crazy. It says it's made in the USA. Highly doubt that, because that broke clean off. And obviously I know I'm not that strong. So pretty crazy. This thing was only from, I think AutoZone or something like that. So not the best, but hey, it got the job done for however long I had it. But I do need to pick up a new one. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's get to installing the exhaust. All right, so this part can get a little confusing because you're actually adding a hanger onto the exhaust clamp. So what you want to do is actually have the nut facing up, and then there's a little keyhole of this bracket. So I'll take it out for you guys. It was a pain in the butt to do, but I'll show you again. So you have the nut facing up. What you're actually going to do is pull it down, take the keyhole part of the bracket, and slide it in like that. So that way when you go to tighten this down, it tightens on the bracket and it'll go on the hanger up here, and you'll be good to go. All right, so we got everything tightened down. It was just tough to get the camera under there and get all the angles and everything, but as you can see, everything is good. I will say, thank God for this. If you have some type of torque wrench that's on an angle like this, an angle torque wrench, it is a lifesaver since you'll be able to kind of reach up and get into the tight areas. But this literally saved the day because I was not able to clamp down the exhaust clamps by hand. It's simply just impossible. I know some people in the reviews, they were mentioning that they had some exhaust leaks with all the connections, and the main reason for that is probably because you did not tighten them down tight enough. Get yourself some type of impact wrench or torque gun or anything like that, just to make sure you're tightening them down properly, because otherwise you're not going to be able to apply enough torque by hand to clamp down on the exhaust clamps to tighten down the exhaust. So just a tip. But well, speaking of tip, let's go ahead, get the last piece of the exhaust on, which is the best part, and that is the exhaust tip. I just figured I would show you before we get out from underneath the truck, but there's the clamps all tightened down. This one was a pain in the butt since this one has the hanger attached to it, but we got that tightened down all the way down to the front there, so we are good to go. Another thing I'm actually going to do is actually wipe this down, because if you don't, all your fingerprints that you just put on there are going to burn onto it, and it's going to look like crap. If you ever decide to take it off, or just down the road, it's just always going to look like crap. So you can either use some IPA, I'm going to use some Geon Prep, which is basically the same thing, just to get all my fingerprints off, and then we can get the exhaust tip on and start it up for the first time and make sure there's no exhaust leaks and everything. So let's go ahead and wipe it down, then we can get to the tip, and then we can do the first start. Alright, so I got the exhaust tip tightened down. I ended up using a ratchet with a, let's see what size this is. Yeah, so I don't know if you can really see that, but 5/16. And then I just used a ratchet to tighten it down, since using an Allen wrench was just not working and I wasn't able to tighten it down enough. So I kind of made it even, kind of hard to see with the lighting, but kind of made it even with the back bumper. I didn't want to stick it too far out. Kind of wanted it sunken in a little bit so it's nice and hidden, and you can't really see it too much. The lighting is, it's obviously daylight, but obviously everything is black, so it's hard to get it focused. But let's zoom in a little bit so you can see. There we go. So everything's tightened down nice and tight, so let's go ahead, let's get our first start going and see what this thing sounds like. Alright guys, so overall, definitely throatier, definitely way deeper than the previous exhaust. I went around the exhaust to make sure there was no exhaust leaks, and there was two, so I had to go under, kind of situate a few pipes and everything, and a few clamps, and now we are good. So everything is good to go. So let's go out for a little drive, do a little testing, see what it sounds like. But overall, I'm really pleased with the throatiness and the deepness. It's not super loud or anything like that at startup. It has a really nice deep tone to it. So overall, I'm really pleased with it so far. So let's go ahead, let's go for a little cruise and see what we think. All right, guys, so that concludes the MBRP 4-inch XP catback for the Ford F-150. Very, very easy install. There's a lot of adjustability. Just keep in mind, you really need to make sure all of these slip joints are properly slipped into each piece, and also the clamps are covering those slip joints, because if you have a little bit of that open, it's going to leak. And I know a lot of people, or a lot of reviews were saying that they had some leaking issues. As long as you have those clamped properly and you use an impact, they'll definitely seal up very, very nicely, and you won't have any leaks. I had 2 leaks. I went around, fixed those, so everything is good. Overall, I'm really, really happy with the sound. It is a lot deeper, a lot throatier with the stock catback. There wasn't anything to be imagined and nothing to write home about. Super quiet, which is obviously what you kind of want in a truck. You just want something super simple. You don't want it drony or just annoying. So for me, I like my trucks and cars a little bit louder than most, but this is a perfect happy medium. It's not too loud, it's not too quiet. You definitely can hear it inside the cabin, especially when you're on throttle. That is when you can hear it the most. But overall, fitment and everything is great. I'm really, really happy I finally got an exhaust on the truck. The previous exhaust setup that I was running, you know, was okay. It wasn't anything fantastic or that much different than stock. But having a full 4-inch exhaust catback on the truck definitely wakes it up, and it sounds really, really good. I'm really happy. Now, the V8, without a question, would sound amazing with this exhaust. The 3.5 EcoBoost leaves a lot to be imagined. Not many people are happy with this motor sound, but overall, I'm okay with it. Like I said, this is just my daily driver, so I'm not looking for anything insane or crazy loud or anything like that. So overall, I'm really, really pleased, especially with the engine intake and everything. It just sounds really, really good. Now, when you're on throttle in cabin, you can definitely hear a little bit of drone. Now, I do anticipate that kind of dwindling down a little bit once the exhaust breaks in, because there is some exhaust break-in time with new exhaust that usually happens. Either way, I'm very, very thrilled with the overall sound. It sounds like a truck, whereas when you first started it with the stock catback, it sounded like a Prius. You could hardly hear it at all. I still have one more piece to put on the truck that I have in the garage currently. I have a nice stainless black lower grille trim here by Putco or Puco. I don't know how to say it exactly. It's in the garage. I do want to install that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in this video. I'm kind of beat just from the past few days and everything, so I might do that in another video. I'm really happy with how this truck is sitting currently. We've done so much since November, since I picked it up, and I overall couldn't be happier with how this thing turned out. There's still plenty more to do, but overall, this is pretty much the vision that I always had with this truck and kind of what I always wanted to have as a daily driver. This is the perfect daily driver for me, and I'm super glad that it turned out the way it did. So that is it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions at all, be sure to ask them in the comments below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.